maybe you can help me write a letter to the court.
Okay, not right now on live, though.
Oh, you're live already?
Right now.
Like you
They heard you say that.
think? Oops.
You won't tell them your business anymore. Okay, good. Okay, so the last live got cut off because I wanted to try to play music and put that I don't own the rights to the music, but that didn't work. So, I'm trying to share this video. I ask that our gods, goddesses, ascending masters, all that are here for our highest good, become present with us now. We ask that all messages be channeled with clarity. We ask for discernment. We ask for protection. We're grateful and thankful for this time, for this space, for this presence, and for this essence. Alright, so the first thing we're going to look at is some of the things that have been challenging us from a mental space. What things have been challenging you from a mental space? What things have been causing your mind distraction, dis-ease, disharmony? Some of you could have actual things going on in the head. So we've been talking a lot about mental health issues. We've been talking a lot about how your mind can restrict you. It can create limitations. It can create barriers, you know. And these are things that you're going to have. This is a part of the ascension process, though. I want you guys to understand that a part of the ascension process means that challenges and things are going to show up. So the more focused you are on ascension, the more focused you are on reaching the higher places within you, the more focused you are, the more challenges that some would show, because things are there to help you become better, help you master, help you do the things that you're asking to do. We don't realize sometimes that what we're attempting to do, what we're working to do, we don't require what it's going to take. We think that we know what it's going to take, and we create a plan, and we create a structure. But truth be told, the plan and structure is actually already created, and we're just learning to go and flow with it, to fine tuning in it. But what else? And a lot of times when we come up with our plans and things, they can cause us to kind of like interject in what already is divine. So it's really important for you guys to understand the mental, and how your mental can play, how your mental affects you, right? Especially if we're discussing mental health, because your mental health can affect how you see things, your perspective. Your perspective is related to the dimensions, the depths, how you see, right? This goes into the vision. Some of you guys might benefit from getting your actual eyes checked, but because that can go into the mental. So if you're having difficulty seeing and stuff, it can definitely affect you as far as your headaches, migraines, things like that, as far as your headspace. But most importantly, you have to understand that your perspective, your point of view, is very powerful position in the ascension process. At every point, you're going to see a position. You're going to see, and at every position, you have a choice to direct, right? And when I use the word direct, then you want to look at the word direction. And directions, we know that there's north, south, east, and west, and everything in between. So this lets me know that you have a choice on how you're going to view things, how you're going to perceive things. And you might have to look at things from different angles. And as you guys always hear me say, that angles are angels. So when we look at angles, that's automatically taking us to law. So, and law is lines, right? Lines, angles, widths. So this goes back to the barriers. This goes back to the mental, to the mind. What things are causing you challenges on a mental level? And how can you see from different perspectives? How can you utilize the gift of perception? How can you utilize dimension? Right? When you look at dimensions, when you're taking the dimensions of something, you're looking at the depth of it. You're collecting data, really. You're knowing how much can fit into this space, right? It has a lot to do with, this has a lot to do, like if you get into the science and you get into, because that takes us back to law, you get into the science of it, it really is actually outlining the structure in itself, right? Whether it's a structure that you need to restructure or revamp or redo, or the structure that's coming into place. I definitely feel like it could be the structure that's coming into place, because this has a lot to do with your connections and your partnerships and your exchanges. This has a lot to do with, this reading right here is only for the people that are working on ascension, the ascension process, the process of going up and making connections. Because when you're getting different perspectives, when you're getting different positions and points of views, and you have the ability to gain different dimensions and gain different depths and look into your insight, and it's really kind of like gaining focus and clarity. I had a conversation recently with somebody in regards to distortion. So when things are being distorted, it's like when you open up your camera and you're focusing your camera on an object, right, or a subject. You're focusing on a subject, right? And when you focus in on that subject, when you're honing in, that's what like predators do to prey. They hone in, they focus their attention, they place all their attention onto one thing, right? So when you hone into this, this is where the conversation of primal instincts, this is where the conversation of watching behaviors, this is a conversation of not so much verbal communication, but forms of nonverbal communication as it relates to your relationships, your connections, your partnerships. Your ability to see different points of view is a gift that you have, and you want to utilize your gift. And if you don't know how to utilize your gift, you want to seek guidance. And that's what I was going to say, that it allows us to put and place pieces together, putting pieces and things into position. When you're putting the pieces together, I want you guys to remember, it's like one thing at a time. When you do one thing, the next thing falls into line. So if you take one, if you receive my email, it said we lead with the left foot first, or I lead with the left foot first. So leading with the left foot, the right will follow. I take another step, and the right follows. So this has a lot to do with placement and position, right? It also reminds me of how knowledge is what keeps you off of the ledge. So knowledge is what you utilize to see the lines, right? So you know the direction. Pretty much you have direction, the lines. About putting the pieces together. You gotta be able to hone in and focus so that you can gain and place these pieces together. But a part of that process is being able to overcome the mental in order to see through the mental, right? So just like we were just talking about distortion. When something is distorted, you have to bring it into focus, right? And again, when you open up that camera and it's focusing in on the subject and it's kind of distorted and the little box comes to focus to capture what it is you really want in the picture, although there's so many other things around, there's only one real subject, there's only one real target. So the little box goes around it and then it focuses and it's able to capture the moment, capture the picture. And that's kind of what you're doing. So when you're capturing, that's almost like your eyes, and it's almost like in the capturing of it is also with memory. So the memories, thank you, Spirit, the memories are what could be having an effect on our mental, especially when it bottles down to mental health, when it bottles down to mental boundaries, limitations, barriers, challenges. But you have to understand that these challenges are to assist you with your actual ascension process. You won't be able to ascend without going through these steps. Remember that the steps, left foot, right foot, one foot after another. This is a process of ascension. You have to be very patient through this process. Why do you have to be patient? Because when something is distorted, you kind of have to allow the time to bring it into focus. You have to allow the time for it to be brought into position. And this is why those pieces are so important, because you're the actual being, you're the power, you're the source that is actually seeing this here through. So seeing it through, the seeing goes back to your perception. Your perception, you have to understand, goes back to your dimensions. When we say dimensions, they say you're in the 3D, the 4D, the 5D. So this gets to the depths, right? When you see the dimensions, you can see the Rubik's Cube. You can see this gets into the science. This gets into the geometry, right? Where you're looking at circumference, you're looking at area, you're looking at perimeters, you're looking at radius. This all has to do with law and structures and restructuring of the mind. You got to be able to see the line. See, the knowledge is the ledge. That's the line for you to know. But the wisdom is the application. The wisdom comes with your ability to be able to put these pieces together. When you are unable to put the pieces together for yourself, Spirit says, seek me. When you seek Spirit, you ask for the guidance. You're looking for guidance. It's almost like you're looking for more pieces. You're enjoying putting these things together. It's not frustrating to you, right? Because you're ultimately revealing. You're allowing yourself, you're allowing Spirit to show you. So when you're asking to seek something, you have to be willing to see how Spirit shows you. Spirit shows us things in many different ways. Spirit communicates with people in many different ways. So this has a lot to do with your personal connections. So we just talked about partnerships, relationships, exchanges, but this gets to be really personal. This becomes really one-on-one. Just like your feet, 1 foot, 2 foot, one hand, your right hand, left hand, this is the same thing. This is all about the connections. This is a duality. This is how everything comes together, and it's all important. They're all a part of the positions and pieces. Yes, Alexis, latitude and longitude, absolutely, right? Latitude and longitudes. This is where we see intersections. This is where we see parallels, and all of this has to do with our perception. You got to see. So you see I use the word prey and predator, right? Prey usually has eyes on the sides of their head, so that when they're grazing, when they're doing, when they're grazing, when they're focused on what it is that their intention is set on eating, right? But because of their design, because of their makeup, the structure, they put eyes on the sides of their head so that they can see 360. They can see all things as they focus and tend to their intention, tend to themselves, right? Predators, on the other hand, have eyes in the front of their head so that they can focus, see, and capture into view what it is, the subject, the focus, you understand? Focusing. So taking something from distortion, which would be the whole view, and being able to bring it into focus, right? So now, prey and predator, the eyes, right? That's what we were just talking about. So the eyes being on the front of the head, this is the two, this is the split. So when you look out of your eyes, you're seeing, right? And now you guys been hearing me talk about the why. The why is the split. So as I walk, 1, 2, 1, 2, and I see myself through it all, this is the split. The split is in between. So the in between the line would be what? The no. The no, right? Now, you guys saw my post where I said the K is silent. So some of you guys could have got smart and said K, the silent killer, right? But listen, and some of you that are even smarter, that's really in the Savvy Soul Tribe membership that really been marching with us, you will remember that past reading when we said, is there something in the air? Right? So now, and this is just coming to me as we speak. Is there something in the air? We talked about air quality, right? How would we be able to know if there was changes going on in the air? We wouldn't, because air is the unseen, but air is also the relationship to spirit, because you guys know that we oftentimes do our element, right? We do our element reading. We look into the water, fire, air, and earth. So the air is representation of spirit, of breath, of life, of source. So if we see that the unseen air quality, right, the quality is being manipulated, the unseen is being manipulated, the unseen, there's things occurring, even if it's not manipulation per se. There's things occurring in the air, changing the quality of, right? These are things that you cannot see. These are things that you cannot see. So maybe this is why your mind is in this restrictive, even being challenged mentally, because I just can't fucking see it. I can't make it clear. I can't bring it into view. I can't bring it into focus. I can't quite see the position, right? I can't see through all the distortion. But now, what I want you guys to do is pay attention to your 2 feet. And this is why we go so deep into the Pisces energy, because the reason why, I'm not a Pisces, right? But you guys hear me speak a lot about Pisces because there's a lot of tension on the feet. And the reason why there's a tension on the feet is because there's a tension on your placement. And this is why you hear us talk about the GPS, talk about your location, right? And the minute it's like if I open up maps, it's going to show me the dot. It's going to show me a radius. It's going to show me the center, the radius. So even if you think about your energy, I just had a conversation today that when we're looking at something, you don't want to just look at the actual object, but you want to look around the object, because ultimately what we're talking about is the aura. It's the aura, right? So now going back to your perception, your point of view, how you're seeing, because the point is the split. Now you can't see, we're talking about air quality, right? So the K, the silence, the K is silence in no. But nose, K-N-O-W-S, N-O-S-E. The K is silent. So the nose is the spirit, is the breath, is the, right? This is a spirit element that we just brought attention to in the first place. Air quality. So spirit says just because you can't see it, utilize your altered senses, right? This is why we've been talking about your 6 senses. You want to be able to activate, utilize this. If I took your eyes away, what else would you utilize to be able to see yourself through, right? So this also, I wouldn't be surprised if we use this other deck, the Two of Swords came out, because this has a lot to do with our abilities to make decisions and choices. But we're not even there yet, because you're still dealing with perception. You're still dealing with point of view. You're still trying to see the power of your own placement. You're still looking around outside of self, and the outside self is the distortion, bringing into focus. Had a conversation with somebody today. When you look at somebody and you're having a conversation, say for example, you look them in their eyes, you're looking into the windows of their soul. Are you looking inside their soul to see their self? What you come to find is that it's within that reflection that you see your own self. That's why if I look into somebody's eyes, you can really actually see you, right? It's like a mirror. So now, when you look into the eyes, the circle, the dot, you see the same example that I just gave you on the map when we just talked about Pisces and your own 2 feet. You see how the feet just took us that quick to the eye. These symbols, these signs, these things are right before our very eyes. It's just on us to be able to take time and attention to be able to put all these pieces together, because we've only been on live like 15 minutes or so, and we just covered all of that. We just covered all of that. So how much ground are you able to cover within yourself? Now this goes to, that's a good question. How much ground are you able to cover by yourself, right? And you have to know that as you travel alone, you travel with a lot. Arm, leg, arm, head. Alone is a lot. So you yourself, just like water, right? There's particles in the water that creates the whole body. So we're talking about your specific 2 feet placement into your whole body. So in the whole body, you're an important piece within the body. So you have to understand, alone, you're still together. There's no separation in it. But you must see yourself to be able to gain your contribution to the relationship, partnerships, exchanges, connections, right? And then going back to what we talked about, is getting really personal. Spirit has to personalize this for you. So all of you guys can be getting this in very unique, in different ways. I always encourage, especially my students, to go on astro.com and look at their daily transits. Okay? You want to get into your own transits. You want to get into your own chart, right? And like, where would you start? Maybe start with Pisces, because we're looking at our own 2 feet. I believe Pisces is in Neptune. Neptune is all about spirituality. Neptune is all about the unseen. Neptune is all about, all that shit. That's what Neptune is all about. So where is Neptune in your chart? Where is that placement for you? Now, when I tell you that these are very hard, challenging times, they really are. I don't know if this means that they're currently, or these are the times, the spaces that we're moving into, because when I give my readings are timeless. And they're very specific, so I want you to be able to relate it to you. What challenges, what restrictions, what things are affecting you mentally? Where do you need mental breakthroughs? Where do you need to be able to expand and get past to reach these higher levels? Because again, this reading is specific for those who are in the process of ascension. I cannot help but emphasize how when you are on your ascension process, when you're on your journey, when you're taking steps to the higher you, this is the most challenging thing of your life. You can expect challenges, and if you're not built for challenge, if you don't respond well to challenge, then you're not going to do well, right? But you can do well if you're able to see yourself through, because I can know that I don't respond well to challenges, but guess what? I want to become my higher self, which means inner higher self. I'm going to handle challenges better because I have the ability. It's getting to understand your own personal abilities on a personalized level. You understand what I'm saying? But let's say just hopped around in a full circle and came right up next to my car. It's hopping towards me. Wait, wait, let me go back. The freaking rabbit just ran. The rabbit. That's interesting. You know why that's interesting, Alexis? That's so interesting because a conversation I had yesterday was a woman walking 2 dogs and a rabbit. She was walking 2 dogs and a rabbit. As if she had 3 dogs, only one of them was a fucking rabbit. So, and it's funny. So rabbit goes, now Lex, I didn't even open your message. I think you sent me a message on IG, on Facebook, right? And I seen it pop up, but I didn't read it yet. So Lex, I seen a little portion, little snippet of it, right? Now go back to rabbit. Rabbit is the symbol of what? I ain't even gonna say it, right? Because you know your message. But now, and it went twice. It spun the block on your ass, right? So you really want to utilize these pieces to be able to go within yourself and see these things within, see yourself through. This goes back to the why. Now, when I say why, I can say WHY, right? Why? Why is that's exposing purpose. Why? God, show me why, because I want to know the purpose. I want to know the reason, right? I want to know that I'm moving with purpose and reason. And is this purpose and reason my own personal desires, my fleshly desires? This goes to your earth element. Or is this what spirit has called? When I was designed, when I was created, spirit placed my 2 feet, my Pisces, right here for me to complete this work, and this is what I'm here to do. So purpose, why? But when you look at WHY, that also takes us to the letter Y, right? Now, just like my arm is the down part of the Y. This is the walk, the righteous walk. This is the ascension walk. This is walking your ass down up the aisle. This is it right here, right? But your 2 eyes, you, because this hand, this right here, this is you. As you walk, you become aware of you, right? You, this split of the Y, boom. You can't even get to the Y without the V. Now the V can take you to, that could be for Lex too, right? The V. Split it, that's a what? You understand? The V, you know where the V lies, right? But at the end of the day, I can flip it like this, and those are my 2 eyes. This is how I see it. So I know where the V lies. You know where the V lies. It's on other people here that are present or that listen to this later to see the V, to see the split in between, to utilize their senses to be able to pick up and understand this dialogue and conversation, whether it be as a collective or whether it be as individuals, or be able to pull out the pieces. You know how we say eat the meat, throw the bone, that so that they can apply it. Now application is wisdom, right? So now that just took us from a whole knowledge base, getting into the law, getting into the lines, seeing the ledge, keeping us in boundaries, keeping us in structure, right, to the application. That means that you're saying, I'm willing. Application is willingness, first of all, because application takes initiative. It requires work. Work requires effort, right? Y'all seen this email. We talked about this. This is why physics is so important, because an object in motion remains in motion until a force comes, right? So the force can be your mind, and the force can either push you and exert you Fast, that is it's gonna cause acceleration and velocity. This goes back to physics, right? Or it's going to make an object slow down until it comes to an arrest, until it comes to a stopping point, right? So you have to understand that you are the subject. And if it's not you being the subject and you're looking at the people, places, and things around you, which are reflections of yourself, and it's on you to be able to take the why, flip it, so that you can see, right? When I look straight on and I flip it, if I look straight on, I can see the stitches in my backdrop, right? But to see the truth of that stitches, I would have to turn my head to see that the S is here. Otherwise, it looks like it's on the other side. You understand? So, perception, our point of view. This is why point of view and because if I see it this way and you see it this way and we trying to flip it, you understand? This is where distortion comes from. But distortion is a powerful placement as well, because distortion allows us the ability to be able to discern. This is where our gifts come from. How do I know I have the gift of discernment unless I stand before deceit? You guys heard me say that a million times. But how do I know I'm standing before deceit? Oh, because it's distorted, because it's unclear, because it's clouded. So this is my cue. This is fog, right? You got to turn on your fog lights. You got to turn on your headlights. This brings attention and awareness. It turns it up. It turns it up a notch, right? Things that you have to do to be able to see yourself through. Just like if the fog turned heavier out where we're located, we have sandstorms and stuff like that. I might even have to take a rest, take a break. That's a force. That's an outer force that required me to take a break, take a moment, right? Until I could process and see my way through. So we have to also understand how some of those forces are also there. This goes back to that saying that rejection is a part of your protection, right? And this is on you to discern. Are you being so protective to prevent yourself from experiencing because you truly have fears, or are you being protected because are you being rejected? Are you being rejected because you are truly being protected, because the spirit of the divine it has more perception than you might have at that time. So, and this is where things begin to happen, and it places us in the why position. Asking why is so important. And you're not asking other people outside of yourself, other outer forces, why. You want to ask yourself why. You want to know your own intention. You want to know if your intention is pure. You want to know if your intention comes from your own place of vanity, your own selfish desires, your own physical state, or whether it comes from spirit, whether it comes from something greater and the grand part of you. You see, a part of moving into ascension and mastering these parts of yourself is to be able to see thy higher self. You're never going to see your higher self if you don't allow your higher self to be present. How do you know your higher self is present? Because of how you see, because of your point of view, because of your abilities in the process. This is why I say see my way through. As I go through all around me, as all this whole experience around me is happening, I am seeing my own ability to control. I am seeing my own ability to maintain. I am seeing my own ability to trust. I'm seeing my own. And what does this have to do with? This has to go with our 2 steps, our placements. Right foot, left foot. When the left foot leads, the right foot will surely follow. Because I can't complete the step without that next foot. The foot is not going to be honest with you, the foot is going to move without you even thinking or processing. Because you built that trust in your body. You never had doubt. You never had those things stand in your way as far as how your physical body moves, right? So you know that when you take that step, the other foot is just going to follow by instinct. And this is why instinct. We've been talking about behavior and instinct. We also been talking about, like for me, I've been utilizing the tiger. The tiger has been coming to me, and I've been spending a lot of time with the tiger to hone in on behaviors, my instincts, my 6 senses, and any other messages or information that the tiger might bring, right? So, remember when we talked about our connections, our partnerships, and our exchanges, and the pieces that we're putting together? You see how, I ain't never seen a tiger in real life and really got to sit down with a tiger, but I can tell you just as clear as day as I see you, right? Because I'm talking to you through the screen. I can't see you, but I trust in you there. Same thing with spirit, right? So when that tiger reveals itself, and then I start going places, my two eyes start seeing, I go to pick up food and the man behind me has a jacket with tigers on it. That is for me. That's a this is how I receive confirmations. This is my signs, and this is how I utilize. Me, I capture those. I take a picture. I have a picture in my mind because I know what I wrote, I know what I said, I know what I did that led me right up to that point. And I look at my radius and I circumference, and I take in all the law of physics and shred all the pieces, because we're natural scientists. We're natural born scientists. The more that you start reaching these levels of ascension, the shit just begins to make sense. You just get flooded. You just turn into a genius. That's all I can say. I know I'm a genius. Was I a genius before I really knew myself? No. Math seemed difficult. History was difficult. But now that I've reached these different places, it just begins to make sense. I can even go back on times and say, oh, now I know why I didn't like history. Why? Because they were doing a lot of lying. That's why I didn't like it. It was because I didn't enjoy fucking sitting there learning lies. So quite naturally, did I know they were lying then? No, I didn't know. But spirit automatically protected me. My mind didn't need to consume all that information because it had a whole nother vision for me. So there's certain things that I didn't necessarily have to go through. So I say that to say that you want to utilize these connections, these exchanges, these partnerships for your higher knowledge, for your higher wisdom. You want to be able, like you said, yes, the eyes are windows to the soul. So when I look into one soul, am I looking into their soul to see all they damn business, or are there things? Is there a reason? There's a placement as to why I'm looking at them. And when I look at them and I can see self. And what in self do I see? This is powerful information, and there's a lot of celebration in that information, because this is where you begin to overcome your challenges. See, we move into a place of celebration when we see ourselves overcome, when we see ourselves achieve, when we start with a why and then we end with a completion, right? We saw ourselves through a process. And there's celebration in that. So you want to work yourself up too, especially when you're working on ascension. That means that you're working, there's steps. And you're looking to reach these higher steps, to see the higher you, so that you can get to the top and witness the greatest you that you couldn't even imagine or perceive, right? So imagine the celebration in that, the communion. 333 could be standing out to you guys, or 33, 666, those type of things, right? The flip, so we just talked about the flip, knowing the mirror. So 999, 33 is 6. See how these numbers, they multiply. They are reciprocals of one another. They're pieces of one another. And it's funny, we're talking about that on the 33-minute mark. So now you guys want to pay attention to the emails, because a lot of things, it seems like, I don't really work in time at all, but this space that they're giving us, it seems like a 90-day, within the next 90 days, and there's going to be a lot of different things that reveal, show, reflect, that we experience and go through, whether it be on an individual or a collective basis. These things could give you a lot to think about. I encourage all of you guys to ensure that your challenges, that your mental capacity doesn't prevent you. And these are things that you might want to affirm and speak for yourself, that it doesn't prevent you from receiving the bigger portion, from receiving from spirit. This goes back to the spirit, the air quality. There's certain things that air, that spirit, there's a quality. See, it's not about the quantity. Thank you, spirit. It's not about the quantity. It's about the quality. And spirit wants to give you quality. But if you are stuck in your mind, or you have mental health issues, or you have things that are unable, that prevent you, these are the areas that you need to work, so that you can reach success, so that you can reach celebration, so that you can receive what spirit has for you. And it's funny because, I talked about that split, right? That split. Well, the split is the duality. So spirit can have something good for you. Spirit can have something bad for you. Spirit can have something ugly for you, right? And if you don't know, now you know. And the no is the K. The K is a silent killer, right? So you have to use your senses. Use your sense to take it in and digest and process what it is. Because ultimately, guess what? 666 and all that, the 3s and the 9s, all this is what it's boiling out to is the balance, the karmic debt, the scales, things being paid off, things being paid on, things you have to understand. All that comes with karma, all that comes with debt. Look at the word debt. Debt is all through the Bible, right? Debtors, to be a debtor is to be a sinner. To remove yourself from debt is a part of self-correction, right? And debt, does that have anything to do with fiat, federal reserve money? You're in debt. Oh, I have bills here and I haven't paid this here. That's not what debt is. It's debt if you're still operating in that system. Now this goes to, because see the K, the silent K. Now, and if you saw my story on Instagram, that revelation, the K being silent, was me tuning into my senses and listening to spirit. And as I said, spirit confirmed. So as I moved more into the process, I saw Brother Reza come on, and he had a post on his page that said the K is silent in monkey. You understand? Now I don't be on, as much as I be on here to exchange and do what I do here, I really don't be on social media like that to know different things that are happening. So it was a surprise to me to even hear about monkeypox, right? But it's really not surprising to me because most of you have heard us talk about the monkey. How do we talk about the monkey? We talked about the monkey, you know, right? Because I talked about Curious George, right? Didn't we talk about Curious George? Ashe, I'm just receiving that. Why did we talk about Curious George? Because I said my little niece was walking around with a Curious George. And what was my meditation? The banana in the tailpipe. And what would that means? Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. You understand? The K is silent in monkey. So if you take the K out, what do we have left? Okay, so that's the chase. You understand? So now you go back to the K and the knowing. And the knowing, the nose, the knowing, that's the in between the lines. And that's where you have to see in between the lines to receive the quality, the air quality. You see how spirit speaks? Now, air quality could actually mean on a collective that we have chemicals and different things in the air. Shit, the chemical could be the jabberton. There's a whole bunch of people jabbed up now. So the quality of our air and the quality of spaces and the quality of things could definitely change. And we wouldn't know about it until we're presented with, until we see ourselves through different elements, changes, and things that we're exposure. You understand? Exposure. So ultimately, too, when we talk about the mental, when we talk about the mind, when we're talking about those type of things, this is where protection really comes in. Protection is so important. A lot of you guys might get in the process of protecting your crown, literally wrapping your hair, doing spiritual bath. There's so many forms of protection. I really don't even want to go into different examples of that, because this goes into your own personal. So you might ask spirit, how can I increase my protection? And let spirit show you. Some of you guys, it could be a crystal. Some of you guys could be gifted with something. Some of you guys might have a revelation that you are, you know, you are naturally protected, which children of God are naturally protected. But also, as we learn our own abilities, as we move up higher into ascension, we're going to see our abilities to protect ourselves. You understand? How you can actually utilize your powers. But see, spirit wants to show you the powers, and you have to seek this information. You got to seek. This is the fruits of your labor. This is this I knew this card was going to come. I told you the Two of Swords was going to come, because, and why did I say that? Because she's blinded. It's the things that you can't see. So what would she use? She would have to utilize her other senses. And if she doesn't have any trust in herself, trust me, she ain't going to be taking not a step, because she'll be like, I can't see. She wants to try to put her hands out. She wants to try to feel. She wants to try to remember, well, this was right here, so I think, boop, and they start running in, you know what I mean? So those laws, those lines, those boundaries, that ledge, that knowledge, application, being wisdom, how is she going to apply her wisdom? By seeing herself through. She says, I can't see. There's too much distortion. It's unclear to me. So this is where she may be gaining her ability to discern and to see through, right? Or to take a break and pause and digest and process. There's a system, there's something happening here, right? So that she can gain the perspective. She can see her 2 fleets. She can see her placement. She can check the radius, the circumference, the area. She gets into the physics. She applies the law as to why she has the wisdom. The minute she applies is the minute that she took initiative. And anything that she did not know, she asked Spirit, show me, lead me, guide me. But after she asked Spirit to do that, Spirit said, okay, but your first step is trust. Your first step is trust. I can't lead you, show you, guide you if you don't trust me. If I say go over there, you're going to talk back and say, I can't go over there because of how it looks. Distortion. So this tells you that sometimes you choose to see distorted views because you don't want to see, you want to come up with excuses, rhymes, and reasons why you can't go where Spirit told you to go. So it goes back to partnerships, relationships, and connections. And it really gets real personal and real one-on-one. With who? With Source. This is not a connect. And Source, now, let me not even go into that too much because how Source reveals to you can be very specific. How Source, but I can confirm that this is a Source connection. So, and you just can't get away from the hardship. So don't be hard on yourselves. Don't be hard-headed. Don't, well, you can actually. I mean, you can do what the fuck you really want to do. You can be as hard-headed as you want to be. You can be as stubborn as you want to be. You can, and there's a lot of that stubborn energy here. Which, you know, Moon is in Taurus right now. Taurus is known as a stubborn sign. So, you know, this is, again, do you have the ability to see yourself through challenges? Because this is where we started off. And this reading was for the people that are working on ascension, the people that are working on seeing themselves through to see the greatest and highest version of themselves. So I'm telling you, I'm confirming that the moment you make that decision and you start taking the initiative, shit gets really hard. But don't become hard-headed. Learn to see the hard and then pick it up and say, ooh, this has a lot of density. Get into the science of it. Why is it hard? Well, this holds a lot of weight. And then you get into weight. And then you get into the scales. And you get into the Libras. And then you get into Spirit begins to just show you, lead you. And there's no, I really want to say there's really no structure in that. There's only flow in that. All you can do is flow. All you can do is get in tune. All you can do is get in rhythm. Or you can not. You cannot, and there's going to be the duality. There's going to be a reflection for that, right? And I don't really want to go into the reflections of that because it can get very dark and deep in the depths of that. You got to understand why I said the next 90 days. You understand? And even when we relate shit to, we take the K out the monkey and we get the money, right? And the money is a currency. And the last time they focused on money, currency, and energy, that was the cash out, and the cash out was the death certificates, right? So I hope you guys can begin to see how all these things come together and how these things can apply as a collective, but also as individuals. And you also want to see your contributions to the play, to the placement. I want you guys to be open to new views, new perspectives, and you don't have to just have one new view of one new perspective. See your pinpoint, see your 2 feet, see your placement. Get a view from the north, get a view from the south, get a view from the east, get a view from the west, and if you need to, check the spaces in between, right? So that you have a 360. Prey predator knows the scene. They're on top of their instincts. They're watching the behaviors. This is the fruits of your labor. Labor is work. This is what takes us back to physics. So you might even want to go back and review some of that. You might want to go back and review some things of just basic physics. Just basic physics. What is acceleration? What is force? What is velocity? What is, you see what I'm saying? You might want to just let me refresh it because that's just what really applies. That's it right there. We needed that. We needed that information. Peace and love, Lex. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you guys have any questions or anything, don't hesitate to let me know. I thank all you guys for being present. Share this live if you can. There might be other people that need to hear this, see this. Now we're going to see if there's anything else that Spirit wants to go over with you guys. That's what I had on the table initially, but while we're all present, I just want to ask that our gods, goddesses, and ascending masters, all that are here for our highest good, become present with us. We ask that all messages are channeled with clarity, with discernment and protection for all that are present and who all might see at a later space of time. Okay? So the first 45 minutes of this was one, but that was pretty much like a collective. Okay? So if you're present here with us now, we're just tapping into our energies for the ones that are here now. Unless you guys have a particular question. If you guys want to do live readings, we can do that too. If you want a live reading, you can put 111 in the chat for me. We're just going to go with it and see what else comes out here. All my readings are timeless. I don't move in time. I only move through space. So how it shows up in space, you know, that's the revelation, that's the confirmation. So what I do is Savvy Soul Confirmations. I also do have a monthly membership that allows you 4 confirmations within the month. But really just building on a week-to-week basis, right? So that you can develop your own spiritual gifts, build on where you're at, commune with spirit and receive what it is that you need. Be able to have somebody there to ask your questions to. We do a lot of studies, a lot of journaling. We have our New Moon Collective coming up on the 30th. I invite you guys to come to the New Moon Collective on the 30th. You can go to the website, Savvy Roses 44, to reserve your spot. DMs are welcome for any questions or concerns that you might have. Yeah, that's really the message, because these same cards are starting to come out, but we're going to confirm them. Okay, boom. So, the Four of Swords comes out first. So, going back to the mental space, mental clarity. Some might say mental health issues, or just go back to the mental space, right? So we looked at challenges. Now I want you guys to look at what things can you put to rest, because there are some things that you truly need to put to rest. You cannot allow this energy, these demons, the devil, you can't allow that type of negativity to affect you, consume you, continue to relive and reveal. See, when something is constantly being revealed, it's because this is an area that you need to take initiative. There's something that you have to do. And if you're not doing it, that's why it has to constantly be revealed to you. You have to see it over and over. You have to experience it over and over until you choose to do different. This is why choices and free will are so important, but that's another conversation. So I want to ask you guys again, what is it that you can begin to do different? What things can you put to rest, really? What things can you put to rest? What things can you do away with? What things can you get rid of? What things do you not participate or make contributions to any longer? Some of you guys could be attending services. This could be funeral services. And you have to understand, too, that a lot of people are putting themselves in that type of space, into that space of not wanting to be here any longer. We can when we get into mental health issues and stuff, we can go into thoughts of suicide. We can go into stress, and stress is a killer. See, and remember, we're talking about the K is silent. The silent killer. So we're looking at things that you can't see. Okay? This could go back to the air quality. This can go to a lot of different things as far as what is it that you can't see, things that you need to put to rest, put it into, because they're having an effect on you. They're having an effect on you. Like I said, stress can kill you. So what are the things that are stressing you out? And what can you put it into? What would you be able to claim your life, reclaim? And that's what I like to do. I call back my power from the north, south, east, and west. We really need to call back our power so that we can be in a very powerful placement, or wherever we're placed, whatever our placement is. We want to be able to be empowered, be completely charged up for what is moving forward, for what is to come. We have to be ready, and trust and know that you will be ready one way or another, whether you like it or not. And how, see, it's not what you go through, but it's how you go through. So as we see ourselves through, you can see yourself through and be tearing up the whole way through, or you can see yourself, savvy stepping the whole way through, and you'd be like, damn, how did I do that? No, that's how I would have been like, so this is how you see your evolution. And that, seeing yourself in that way, really puts you in spaces where you are almost like having outer body experiences, but in real time, and you're not necessarily out of your body. You just have a good perceptive. You have good insights, inner sights. You understand? When you have that, you're able to take authority. So those devils, demons, negativity, all of that energy, that deadly type of energy that is presenting or that's affecting you or causing you mental or things. This could even be memories. We talked about memories and flashbacks and things of the past, especially with Mercury retrograde, a lot of past visions and displays and things. This is why you guys are being challenged mentally, moving to that place where you can overcome and reach achievement in this level, because Spirit wants for you to have authority over your life. But Spirit can't just give you authority over your life. You have to claim authority over your life. You have to claim. This goes back to, if you guys really be reading your Savvy Soul confirmations that I send to you via email, we talked about reclaiming the body. We talked about reclaiming. This is why we said that we needed to start looking at property and assets and natural law, and looking at nationality, international, different things of that nature. Okay, because this has a lot to do, and this has a lot to do with the money and this silent K. This all goes falling for the banana in the tailpipe and the monkey in the middle. You understand? All that type of position is not going to occur for those that have authority over their life, over themselves. They have dominion. They have power. They're rooted and grounded and seated on their throne. They're in position. They have knowledge, wisdom, application. They've earned their stripes. They have a purpose in being present. You understand what I'm saying? That's the authority that we're talking about. That's the quality. And that's the type of thing that some of you, some people are that, and you might not look like that. People don't know it. When they see you, they don't know who they walking with, who they talking with. They don't know that. They don't know that. A lot of people, like you always heard me say, have Jesus, Jacob, all of them people have been placed in their lives, and they didn't know it. They read about it, they heard about it, but they never had the perception. They never had the point of view. They never had, or they didn't utilize the opportunity to see from different positions, to be able to see you in a reflection, to see the Jesus Christ stand right before their very eyes and be the Savior, the reflection for them to see themselves and save themselves and reclaim themselves and place themselves in their powerful positions and sit on their throne in a placement, so that they can make choices and decisions in righteousness, right? Because when we have choices and decisions, this is why I say this is going to take us to the topic of free will, and we're probably going to take that on a different day, the topic, or maybe tomorrow or something. We'll talk about free will, because when you really are working to levels of ascension and you are mastering yourself and you are looking to see the greatest versions of yourself, you start realizing that I'll say this. You go through the process of defining for yourself. So the definition freedom can mean one thing until you are actually living the truth of it, seeing the truth of it, 2 feet in position, and you're experiencing freedom for yourself to be able to even have defined what freedom is. And if you truly are making decisions and choices that are righteous, you will see that yes, God's source gave us free will, but God trusted in me to make the best decisions. God trusted in me, you understand, to make righteous decisions. God trusted in me to see in between. God trusted in me to utilize my senses. God trusted in me to, right, breathe and see and take a break, to process, digest, to get involved with my systems, to see. God placed around me so many powerful placements, positions, pieces. The pieces are the master. I don't gain my masters without collecting my pieces. Collecting my pieces was taking the initiative, seeking spirit, allowing spirit to see me, show me through. I got to see myself through it. I got to see if I act up and what the fuck I do, all the areas that I need to be able to correct. You understand? So the power of correction is where your authority comes from. This is where my saying that, see, a lot of people say, nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect. Well, nothing is perfect until you go through correction. And when you go through correction, then you find perfection, inner correction. You have to enter INNER/ENTER correction to move into the space of perfection. And this is how you get into the view, the I am God present. Because when you are and you see and you know God is present within you, you better know that perfect is present in you. And that perfect is present being all that he or she is in every placement, in every space. And as long as you move in purpose, and as long as you seek, you understand, you're going to be able to make righteous choices and decisions and free will. You're going to understand that the will was already written. So the freeness was only the ability to choose to see what it is you was going to do, to see what it is how you was going to see. You know, because that was the power of duality. Duality was a part of your lessons. Duality has been one of your greatest teachers. You might want to give a person credit for your teaching, but really it's the duality, the all, that has been your teacher and that receives the credit. And again, what does this have to do with? This is the fruits of your labor, the fruits of the master, right? And you can't get into fruit without getting into the seed. The seed is the child, right? The seed is the child. And that goes into a whole nother conversation, because if you look at my story now, you're going to see the 2 sons. And you're going to see this. If you saw my story before that, you already saw us talking about the mother. These have been constant conversations because the story is playing out right before our eyes. It's giving us different points of view, different at the whole 360 display. There's a point at every fucking position, right? Just like if you look at the clock. There's 12, 1, 2, 3, right? There's a point at every position. So you gotta know these points, inner position, enter your position to know your points. The points, this goes to the law of correspondence, takes us back to the science. This is why I say we can do Savvy Soul readings, but until you guys actually apply and do the work, and the thing is, Savvy is not gonna necessarily say, do this or do that, because what Savvy is here is to show you your own abilities, to see how spirit is going to reveal inner you. This is all the inner you process, right? To know thyself, to see thyself through the process. Me just being a reflection, because I am seeing myself through the process, and I'm providing my revelations, and inter-revelations is the revolution, right? So that's why I see, for an example, the warrior in me, right? And when you start studying warriors and things like that, and why certain, and not just any warrior, but the ones that show up for you and show up to you. This is why I don't give so much of what it is that's me in that sense. I only always stay in the view of reflection. I remind you of reflection. I remind you to go back and look at self, right? So that you don't really take on me, because that would be the lie of it. You got to know the flip to receive you in it all. Enter all. You understand? These are the powerful placements and positions. This is where your stability is going to come from. This is where your security is going to come from. Now, when you think of stability and security, right, and we've already talked about the monkey, don't fall for the monkey in the tail, the banana in the tailpipe, right? We already have our if you've really been rocking with me, then you have your confirmations on these type of things, right? So you can see where stability, security, you can't get into security. You can't look at money. You can't look at monkey, the silent K, get to the money, and then look at the money and not see security, whether it be the security guards that guard the money, whether it be the security, the trust, the funds, the trust fund, whether it be security, social security office, you understand? Whether it be security to secure yourselves. See, this is why we have to really get into definitions. Grab your Black's Law Dictionary and look up the word security and see how it applies inner law, right? So that you have the knowledge. Knowledge keeps you off the ledge. Application is the wisdom, and this is all that we're talking about. So it will all begin to fall into alignment. Enter the changes, because changes, anybody that's been with me, change is what we can count in. Change is the weight. Change is to collect your coins and your silvers. Can't get into the money conversation again without getting into the money, the silver, the gold, the precious metals. You understand? Some people want to get into the cryptos and the currencies. That's all their business. But at the end of the day, there's definitely big changes in transits that we can trust in because they're occurring. Those are the different positions on the line on the clock, right? And you're in pinpoint, you're in position, you're in view, you're in focus on knowing your perimeter, your surroundings, your circumference, your area, knowing your physics, knowing your science, knowing it all, because the all exists within you, because the law is inner you. As you interview yourself, you will begin to see these things and the alignment, entering the change, the transits, the trust, the security, and all these things. It just begins to line up. It literally lines itself up, because this was the will. You can't get into security, trust, funds, money without the will. We done already talked about what was on the line, right? There's a lot of information here as individuals and as collectives. So it's on you to discern, eat the meat, throw the bone, see how it could apply, dive deeper, pull your own journal out, time, date, and stamp. See, some of you might look up the spiritual meaning of a monkey. Some of y'all might look up the meaning of a banana in the tailpipe. Some of y'all might look up silent K and see killer bees. Some of y'all might see how the bees, so like for me, we be living, right? So y'all always see me utilize the bee, and if you really know Savvy, you know how the bee came to me, right? And the story about the bees and how the bees follow me and my relationship with bees, right? And if you really tuned in with Savvy, they follow you now too, right? Right, reflection? So guess what? Now go back to me talking about the tiger and Spirit showing me the tiger. Well, guess what Spirit showed within me, the tiger? That the stripes were still the same. The bee and the tiger both had stripes. We'll say yellow and black, orange and black. You get it? So from a little to a big, and then you can go and enter that, and that's a whole another view. And based on your point of view and your perspective, you might be able to see the different points and gain different collection, right? Collect different data and be able to translate, transmute, transform. This is where alchemy and things begin. This is why you even began the process of ascension, to move into the Most High. This is where Jesus, I told you, to perform miracles, to become a miracle worker, to become a healer, to become the purpose that is within you, right? Based on your choices and decisions, to choose righteous, which means your freedom. You really, I was given a choice, but I really wasn't given a choice because I was to be righteous. I was a natural born God. So all those things, all those choices and free will and the freedom that they're talking about, I was not free to do that. I can't do what y'all do. This is where the separation occurs. Can't do what y'all do. You understand? I can only do what source. I can only do what God. I can only do what the divine. That's the only thing. So that whole freedom, my freedom lies in our divine. Enter the divine, and that's where I find freedom. Anything, and I still hold on before I even go into my next flip on that. Enter the divine, and this is where I find freedom. And when I find freedom, I have to self-define what freedom is, because I have the choice to move in and out of divine. But if I know myself, if I know myself, this is where I truly cut off all connection with y'all and really, really take in me. If I know myself, I know that I can't do that. That I will suffer consequences. Why? Because I have the knowledge. I have the ability to apply, and I would just simply be choosing not, which is just choosing not to be what I know I am, which is out of order, out of alignment. So me, although I have the freedom to do that, I really don't have that freedom. So I would have to define freedom for myself. Enter the divine, and I find freedom. Okay? And that's a whole nother conversation on freedom. So thank you guys for being present. We had 1 hour and 6 minutes. I hope that you guys are able to receive different pieces and portions and placements that you can find and see within yourself and be able to apply and gain wisdom. And if not wisdom, gain a little bit of knowledge so that you know how to stay off the ledge. You can feel yourself through these upcoming transits, especially looking within the next 90 days. I encourage you guys that if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, please don't hesitate to message me. My DMs are open and welcome. You're also welcome to go onto the website. Go onto the website, book your own personal reading, Savvy Soul Confirmation. I encourage you to be a part of our upcoming collective New Moon in Gemini Reiki, Sound, and Intuitive Healing. That's going to be on the 30th at 7 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. Go to the website, Savvy Store. Reserve your spot. If you have any questions on that, let me know, and I can make sure that your spot is reserved. If you're a member, please know that you're able to invite others. So you want to be able to invite other people to this union here. We're going to be introducing some new things present there. What else? That's it for now. That's it for now. I love you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday. I'll touch bases with you guys again soon. Peace and love, and I will talk to you.